Greetings, guys. To all my followers, sorry for being AWOL for so long. I was finishing up a community college degree and got busy and distracted. I was finishing up my associate's degree, and now I'm going for my bachelor's. If you can't read this, it's UCSD, University of California, San Diego, Muir College. So I've been really busy with that, with finishing up my previous degree and now getting ready for my next one, as well as I'm planning on hiking Mount Whitney and doing a backpacking trip for school. And I've also struggled through some issues. For example, I always thought what I did in which I educated people on climate change is important, but now I see that it's mostly a drop in the bucket, and that no matter how much world leaders promise, absolutely nothing is going to get done. We've already failed every single one of our climate pledges across the board, and any emission reductions in Europe and the US are quickly eaten up elsewhere. So I really think the odds of global societal collapse by like 2050 are at 50-50. So that was a pretty sobering reminder and such. Anywho, so there's that. In all fairness, though, I've kind of known that for a long time. So I'm giving you this video today, which one of my followers suggested. I think he subscribed just for this and may or may not have gotten tired of waiting. It's bird flu, the avian flu. And we're going to look at the pandemic potential of it. So bird flu is basically just certain strains of the influenza virus that are found exclusively in birds. Now, there are a lot, including ones that overlap with like pig and so on, but there are only a handful of dangerous avian flu strands. Avian flu is generally divided into two groupings: HPI and LPI, highly pathogenic avian influenza and low pathogenic avian influenza. Best I can figure, the differences between the two is one has a higher mortality rate and one has a lower mortality rate. So let's start by looking at the worst case scenario. So the worst case scenario is something like this. It's just an ordinary day. We zoom in on a small village in rural China or Vietnam, somewhere in East Asia, where a small farmer is cultivating a small herd of chickens and pigs. They're all together in the same place. What the farmer doesn't know is that one of the birds is sick with highly pathogenic avian influenza, one of the dangerous strains, and one of the pigs are sick with swine flu. Now, either through feces or they drop food and share it like something out of Contagion, the viruses mix. You mix H1N1 with H5N1 or something, or any of the other dangerous strains. Now, at first, no one really notices because it's just affecting animals. Maybe some more animals die than usual. Eventually, it's going to take a while because healthcare systems in these countries, even with US aid and WHO assistance, is pretty weak. So it starts spreading among the animals and the farmer gets sick. He doesn't know this, but he is sick with a horrible contagion, with a horrible strain of avian flu. And he goes about his normal day, meeting people, shaking their hands, not knowing that he's infected. In a couple weeks, he'll die a horrifying death. But before then, it's market season. So he takes his pigs and chickens to the market, interacting with hundreds of people and putting the infected animals into the food supply. What we don't know is that the virus is evolving with all the people it comes into contact with and is slowly developing the ability to spread person to person. So, what are the odds of this happening? Well, when it comes to pandemics, the most likely ones are either a new unknown virus, much like COVID, or influenza, I mean, technically bioterrorism or genetically engineered bioweapon by rogue government or mad scientist or terrorist is possible, but the likelihood of that is a lot smaller than a natural pathogen. So, when it comes down to it, a regular flu pandemic, the odds of having anything but avian flu is probably pretty low. I mean, swine flu, despite being a big one, only killed like 1 million people, and vaccines were rolled out quickly. Seasonal flu is well under control with the flu vaccine. So, what? Yes, I'm busy. I'll be down in a while. So, sorry about the interruption. I'm sharing a living space currently. So, what is the worst case scenario? Well, H5N1 develops the ability to spread person to person. It's one of the stronger strains and has a 60% fatality rate. Assuming that it infected most of the world, it could kill 4 billion people easily. H7N3 and H7N7 and H9N2 are honestly, a lot of the other ones are least likely to cause problems. In H10N8, it only killed one elderly woman in China, but just because it's only killed one person so far doesn't mean that it's not a problem. So these 5 strains are what governments around the world consider danger strains that need to be monitored. So H7N9 is one of the more infectious ones. It has infected 1,622 people and has killed 619 of them, which leaves what is, for avian flu, a 38% death rate, which is low for avian flu. And the thing is, the more lethal the virus is, the quicker it burns out, meaning that it kills off its victims before it can spread. So H7N9 is probably one of the more dangerous strains on this list. I mean, H5N1 has a higher fatality rate, but the only way it would become a problem is if it mutated to have a longer incubation period. H7N7, which is another danger strain, is already found in seals, pigs, chickens, you name it, it's already there. So theoretically, it's closer to mutating to spread person to person. As of now, though, person-to-person transmission of avian flu it's rare, okay? I mean, based on my opinion, which I've spent, 10 years of my life, ever since I was 12, researching diseases and stuff, I believe that there is one cluster that is probably human-to-human transmission. It was in a family in Indonesia. 10 people were sick, 8 of them died, and only one person had contact with an infected bird. So, there's that. So, what are mitigation strategies? Well, governments around the world should invest a lot of money in a universal flu vaccine. That would mean that you can get vaccinated once, and it would protect against all forms of flu, which would basically mean that an avian flu pandemic would never be a problem. They could pursue more vaccination of birds for avian flu strains, but, that doesn't really get around the problem that so many animals are crowded in areas where they shouldn't be. Live animal markets in Asia could be shut down, but it's too culturally ingrained to do that. The U.S. could crack down on factory farmers, commercial feedlots where a bunch of chickens and pigs are kept together, because that's a great way to spread virus, but the economics on that are hard. Now, what can you do individually? Well, the most likely thing you can do individually is simply stock up on all the shit you probably stocked up on for COVID, right? Get yourself Tyvek suits, those plastic suits you see people wearing in like disease movies or during COVID. You can get them for like $10 from like 3M, an industrial supply company, and you can get them, granted they're made in Vietnam, but it's good enough. You can get some respirators. I prefer the 3M respirator, the N95 or N99s. So there's that. And you could get those. Additionally, you could stockpile all the cleaning supplies that you probably should have, like a shit ton of industrial bleach and the pool chemicals necessary to make industrial bleach. I mean, in terms of education, you should watch the film After Armageddon, which is about an avian flu strain spreading around the world and killing a massive number of people and causing societal collapse. It's honestly your best bet. Now, of the recent cases in Europe are common, mostly among migratory birds or in some instances in poultry plants. So it's not a warning sign that you need to be prepared right now, but if I had to guess, I would say that unless we develop a universal flu vaccine, it's going to happen sometime in our lifetimes. Maybe 5 to 10 years, could be 50 years, but it's coming down the pipeline. Additionally, the whole COVID thing, it has a new strain that's vaccine resistant, and there's concern that since it's spreading in the Middle East, it could merge with MERS, Middle East Respiratory Syndrome, which has like a 30% fatality rate, which could create a new super strain, which, would be disastrous. In comparison, original SARS, the thing that COVID is descended from, had like a 20% death rate, and it essentially burned itself out because it killed people too rapidly, and governments around the world contained it rapidly, unlike this time. But now I'm honestly not sure if I've made this video before. I might have. So if you've seen that this is a repost, please let me know. And I will try to get back to a normal schedule. I'll do some book reviews in the coming weeks. I might do a summit vlog from Mount Whitney. I'll do a video on electric cars, like arguments against them and stuff. I'll do a video on how Ronald Reagan and the Republican Party ruined the country. I'm going to give you more content to make up for being gone. And I'll try and get into a regular schedule when I'm going off to school. But I have no idea what I can promise. And I don't want to be like Salmonella again, just randomly disappearing, or grade A under A. So, if you like this video, like, comment, and subscribe. Alright, bye.